good morning, Predicted Trades family. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody had a nice, relaxing weekend. Let's jump in with a little recap of last week. We had our little Monday profit taking that led to a week of rally, like we talked about on last Monday's prep. After a strong push, we could see profit taking and then a push off of the moving averages to head higher, and that's what we got last week. Played nice shorts on Monday and then went long on Tuesday with some, consolidation around this key level or this key zone around 3960. We pushed off of that and got above 4,000 just a little bit, and then came back to that zone on Friday for some profit taking. And we reviewed, at least, I did have some more aggressive trend lines off of lows, kind of like this, as an early warning that we got on Friday, that if we broke those trend lines, we'd head down. And, I don't know, mine was a little bit tighter than this. I think it was a little bit more up like this. So that kind of early in the day on that first drop, I had my indication that we're breaking trend line and we'll go back to our zone. That's where we ended up getting to and through and then closing above on Friday. You can see overnight, last night, we just kind of held that zone, bounced around it, and now we're heading back higher again. Back up to this daily Keltner, which sits pretty much halfway between this zone and our squeeze tops. So, I drew a new trend line off of the lows pre-market Wednesday and the lows from Thursday. That trend line was held on Friday, and so now that gives us kind of our early warning. That trend line is catching up to our main zone, so that if we start to go through this zone and break that trend line, the premise becomes very simple, that we can fall down to this daily 8 and daily 50 at the bottom of the squeeze, and then should the squeeze give out, it's back to the 21 and the 15. So now our moving averages are making nice little zones below. Should we see more profit taking or selling? But I'd say as long as we hold this zone, we can continue to try to push higher and fire these squeezes to the upside. Real quick, let's pull up our economic calendar for the week. This is the last week of July. So monthly close will be on this Friday. We might see some interesting oscillation as they rotate out of contracts or close out the month, right? And we have a very eventful week as far as economic data goes. Monday and Tuesday usually not too much, but then Wednesday we've got durable goods, core capital, blah blah blah. But then we have FOMC and a potential rate hike coming at 2 p.m. on Wednesday. We know how this can go. We might just push Monday, Tuesday higher into FOMC, and then we'll see that normal 2 o'clock craziness that we see. Then after FOMC, we have some GDP, initial jobless claims, and then on Friday, we've got our inflation index, PCE, and that University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index and 5-year inflation. So pretty full week. Wednesday through Friday. So let's see if Monday, Tuesday we might just get continuation on this rally into FOMC. And for today, like I said, on ES, as long as we can hold this zone, might take a little dip to revisit it, or at least revisit this overnight high. Which is where VWAP is sitting right now. So as long as we can hold this zone, we can continue to press higher. We do have some highs from Friday to get through. And that psychological 4,000. We still have our 4-hour squeeze and daily squeeze up above. And this 4-hour squeeze could contain us into FOMC. We could just chop around that range, or they could continue to try to push us higher. So let's see. Should the zone give out in that trend line, like I said, our moving average is below at the bottom of the 4-hour squeeze, and then just below that as well. Also, with all these trend lines from the lows, I've been setting little alerts so that I can know if we start to break them during the cash session, just in case I'm on a lower time frame where they're a little obscured. And just so you know, at any point, if you want to put an alert from a trend line, a drawing, if you right click on that right here, you can create an alert from this drawing. And whenever price crosses this trend line, you'll get an alert. So you'll notice every chart that I go through, I've got alerts set on each name's trend line from the lows. So let's move on to NQ. NQ definitely been trying to lead the upside. Big tech carrying the market per usual. On NQ. Had that reset on Monday, pushed off the daily mean, stretched up above that 12,500 for a little bit, and then fell below on Friday. As you can see, I had the tighter trend line that gave out, and then once we based here, connected a new trend line to be kind of an early warning that if we break that, then we're probably going to see a little more selling back down to our moving averages. So as long as this 12,400 can hold today, and this key level at 458, we can start to push through these lower time frame squeezes to get back up to this daily and 4-hour and back above that 12,500. You can see we pulled up to it this morning, and now we're having a little break. So let's see if this 458 can hold us up and start to send us through 500 in a bid to get back to this 600, 700. And the next key level above, and the next Keltner above. Should we start to give out the trend line and these squeezes, we got the daily 8 down here at around 300. And then the 21 back at our last key level. On the ready, holding that 1800 real well. You know, bounced at it on Wednesday's little profit drop, or Thursday, sorry. And, you know, slipped it a little bit on Friday, but closed above it. So as long as 1800 can hold, can send us higher. With the goal of trying to get to 1900. I know it's a little bit further above, but it's a big key level for the ready. On the ready, our moving averages are a lot closer, with the daily 8 being right down at yesterday, Friday's low. So, well, let's see if we're going to see some profit taking today, and if this will slip back, hold this daily 8 and this 4-hour squeeze to head higher. It might just hold this Keltner and keep pushing. And we can see our 4-hour and our daily are starting to open up to the upside and get thinner and thinner. So we might just get some of these daily squeezes firing before FOMC. We'll have to see a good push up for that to happen. YM looks like it's trying to lead this morning. Let's see. Yep, YM up a little bit more. YM and Ruddy are leading right now. So we could see a little rotation into YM this morning. But just like on the other indexes, we have a key level that we sold back to. Closed above on Friday, held overnight, pushing off of it nicely. So as long as that 31,800 can continue to hold, and at least Friday's, or if that past that, Friday's low, as long as that little zone can hold at these squeeze bottoms, we can continue to head higher. Obviously, we are near squeeze tops going into open. So let's see if we hold above 32,000 and push into these squeeze tops to try to continue. We could get a scenario like we did on Friday, where we are opening in squeeze tops and we're going to see a little break first. If that's what happens, we'd like to see these daily Keltners hold. You know, if we hit these squeeze tops and start coming back, we'd like to see this area hold, so that we don't have to go all the way down to squeeze bottoms. But we'll see what we get. Should 32,000 not hold, looking for that 800 to hold. And should those start to give out, and should the trend line start to give out, in fact, I'm going to set an alert on this one real quick. Just that easy. Should that trend line start to give out, we'll probably get down to the bottom of these squeezes, the daily 8, daily 50, all right there, and that psychological 31,500. Basically looking for all that to hold us up into FOMC. Should they give out, we've got our next daily moving averages right below. And if we can continue higher through Friday's high, ultimate goal right now is to get back to that 32,500 and that daily Keltner, which are making a nice zone up above. Apple continuing to remain strong. Got above that 155 last week, but then had a little profit taking back. Already back at that 155 pre-market. This little wick is concerning. Might mean that we are going to go back to retest this 153 key level and this trend line from last week. Because as you can see, we're somewhat trading in a channel. So as long as we can hold that 153 and that trend line, we can try to keep pushing to the upside to Friday's high and these squeeze tops. Apple does report this week. Ooh, that reminds me, we should briefly cover the earnings schedule. Where are you? Right here. There we go. So, earnings this week. We've got quite a lot. As far as big tech goes, we have Google and Microsoft reporting tomorrow after the bell. There are plenty of other big names reporting as well. Coke, GM, GE, McDonald's, Chipotle, right? But I'm mainly just tracking the big tech names that are reporting. On Wednesday, we've got Shopify before the bell, Boeing as well, Spotify, if that's your, cup of tea. We have Meta, Qualcomm, Teladoc, Etsy, Lam Research. So some chips on Wednesday. On Thursday, Amazon, Roku, Intel, all pretty big. MasterCard, some airlines, some health care, right? And on Friday, it looks like some energy, mainly. So, big week of earnings. All the big names in tech that have not reported yet are reporting. We've got, what was it, Netflix and Tesla last week, right? So the rest of FANG or MANG are reporting this week. So big week in earnings, big week in economic calendar. It's not gonna be boring. So let's see if Apple can continue to hold, try to push higher. The goal trying to get back to this daily 200 and this next Keltner up, which are right below 160. Should the zone and trend line start to give out, then it's back down to the daily 8, which will be stepping up probably just outside our squeezes. AMD. So AMD been on a nice trip up on a trend line from the lows that got us up here. We are going to be testing that trend line right around open and right near a key level. So let's see if that can hold us and start to send us back up through the daily 50 in an attempt to get back to that 90 and 91 where we sold off from on Friday. Should this trend line and that level start to give out and Friday's low, then it's back down to the daily 8 and these key levels below. Amazon. Is AMD next week? Okay, AMD's next week. Amazon, same deal. Got a nice trend from the lows. That will be kind of near at open. And we've got one of those wicks down. And a lot of times when we get these wicks, we find that during the cash session we go to retest that level. We'll be retesting that trend line if we do go down there. If that can hold, obviously looking to get back up to Friday's high at 125. And our 2-day squeeze, which is up above at that 128, 127.5. Our daily squeeze did fire and release. So let's see if we get continuation off that. If we start to give up this trend line, squeeze bottom, heading back to the daily 8, and then past that, the daily 21 and 15 below, back at that 115. BA reports this week. Been on a nice run up. BA heavily weighted in the market, so we needed them to help us on this run up, definitely. And as you can see, broke that trend line, the tighter trend line on Friday, which was a good sign for more downside on Friday. And now we're pulling up on the next trend line, right at about this 156. So looking for that to hold. Start to send VA back north of 160. We do have our second Keltner will be around that 160 today. And then that third Keltner will be up around 166, 167. We are getting near third Keltner. Definitely something to keep an eye on. Looks like our daily squeeze fired. And we have our 2-day that is still somewhat intact. Let's see if we can keep on trucking, or if we give out trend line and start to see more downside. Cat, you'll notice on every name I'm going to have a nice trend line from the lows that we're going to be pretty close to. Cat's almost back to the daily 21, got above it a little bit on Friday, then came back to the daily 8. So let's see if we can get some continuation on Cat back to the daily 21 with the goal of pushing up to this daily squeeze top. And that next Keltner, should trend line start to give out, daily 15 is below. And below that, probably this 174. Google. You know, Google had a decent start to the week. Then on that Thursday profit taking and then snap reporting, Google got pretty beat up. And then on Friday, did not try really to even get back above these moving averages. Just kind of gave them a slap and then died. Right down to the bottom of the daily squeeze. That's why we track all these things. They provide great targets and great measurements of trend and continuation. So Google reports this week, tomorrow after the bell. Let's see if they want to retest this daily squeeze bottom and Friday's low. Or if they're going to start a recovery back to the moving averages before they report. And while we're waiting for that to load, one thing I'll point out on our ES 4 hour, which I try to keep up over here, that Friday sell-off basically just got us back to the 4 hour 21, this white line. You can see we held it and now we're scooping off of it. So that's a good sign for continuation. I know everybody sees that selling that we had on Friday and starts to think, oh, we're just going down now. Just because we had our first red day after such a nice run, right? But we have to be able to measure, is it just a pullback in continuation, or is it a true change of trend, which would be getting through trend lines and heading lower? On GS, barely even took a break on Friday and right back up near its highs already. So let's see if they're going to continue to push this up to that 330 and try to peak above. We are almost to third Keltner, but we can keep going. Should we reject the squeeze top, coming back to squeeze bottom, Friday's lows, should those start to give out, the next Keltner below and the daily 8 are making a zone right around that 313. JPM, not a lot of interest. They haven't been rotating into it as hard as GS. JPM went down on earnings. GS went up, so I'm just going to skip right over. Meta, not a bunch of interest. They report this week, and they went down with Snap and Google and stayed down on Friday. Back at all these daily moving averages. So let's just see if, what do they report? on Wednesday. So let's see if they chop it around these moving averages. We do have that daily 50 up above. So if we are going to see some recovery, kind of expecting it to at least try to get back to that daily 50. But it could just bounce around these moving averages leading into earnings. Microsoft reports tomorrow with Google. And as you can see, got a handy dandy trend line. Looks like we just smacked it pre-market. And all of our daily moving averages are tight as can be, right around 260. So, looking for us to hold 260 and this trend bottom to keep trucking up and recover Friday. Got that 4-hour squeeze top up at 265, 266. And should trend line give out, 4-hour squeeze bottom down near that 256. But I'll wait to see how earnings go tomorrow. Netflix, same trend line. Gonna be near it and testing at open. Should that start to give out in this 218, got a nice fat squeeze bottom there, but we've got a 4-hour just below at 215, where that second Keltner is going to kind of be sitting. It's going to step up a little, actually, closer to the squeeze bottom. But should that 4-hour give out, it's back to the daily 8 and that first Keltner on Netflix, which lines up well with kind of that post-earnings bounce. NVIDIA. They don't report until later in August. But we've got our trend line from the lows that were already starting to peak below. Kind of like on AMD was looking weak. So let's see if NVIDIA is going to hold Friday's low and pop back up. Should it give out Friday's low? Probably coming back to this daily 8 and daily 50. And then right below that, we have the daily 21 as well. If we can get hold and try to get going to the upside, it's trying to get back to Friday and Thursday's highs. And that second Keltner up at 180, 181. QQQ. I made Q's trend line from lows just a little looser than some of the other names we've looked at. You can draw a trend line from Friday through the overnight lows as kind of an early indication. So let's see if we can hold the overnight trend to keep heading back up and recover Friday. We're almost at the pre-market highs. We're almost halfway there. So a decent push in the morning could completely recover Friday. Let's see if our overnight trend line can hold, send us back up to 305 and some of these highs from Thursday and Friday. That's second Keltner. If we start to give out trend line from overnight lows, going to test trend line from recent lows. And should that give out, we'll go back to the daily 8, which will likely be stepping up just underneath 300 and inside this 4-hour squeeze. So they should make a nice zone of support with this 4-hour squeeze and that daily 8 stepping up. So let's see what we get. Roku. They report Thursday with Amazon after the bell. Not a ton of interest in Roku because they have just been whipsawing this thing around. And on Friday it fell way through its daily moving averages, kind of back to Tuesday's lows or near it. Also the previous Friday's highs, right? So they report this week kind of at their moving averages, so kind of just expecting them to chop around those moving averages leading into earnings. Not a lot of interest. I'll just skip to SPX. Shop and Snow took a dump on Friday like everything else, but they fell pretty hard, so not a lot of interest there. SPX been trading in this channel. And then we bounced at on Friday. And we also bounced back at this key zone. So let's see. Gonna have a small gap up. We still have not completely filled this zone. You can see we got up to about 412. This zone extends up to about 417. So technically we still have a little bit of that gap to fill. Not a huge thing. So let's see if our key zone here can continue to send us higher. Let's see, we're probably going to be opening, excuse me, a little bit above this daily Keltner. And kind of near this gap fill zone. So let's see if we can hold Keltner and gap fill and trend line depending on where we open to continue up and recover what we lost on Friday back to this 4,000 and 4,020. We can get past that. Next key level 4062 and this daily Keltner around 4040. If we start to give out trend lines back to the daily 50 and the daily 8, that daily 8 will likely be stepping up near the bottom of our zone, and that daily 50 will still be flat. So those will be the first targets to the downside, and then past that 3900 and the daily 21 back at this old gap. SPY. Trend line from lows holding. And we're back above a key level at 395.8. So basically on every name, we fell back near a key level, near trend line. So those need to hold for us to go higher. If those don't hold, we might get a little below Friday's low to hit 4-hour squeeze bottoms and moving averages. So, same on SPY. Let's see if we can hold key level, trend line, and try to push back to 400. If we can push any past that, we've got that next Keltner up around 403, 404. And I think the daily 200 is still way, way, way above, yeah. And the next key zone is kind of around 410. So, if the trend line gives out, if that trend line gives out, back down, likely to this 4-hour squeeze bottom, and this daily 8 and daily 50, which will be crossing today right around 391, 392. Let's see if we can hold and push more. If not, back to 392. Tesla. Good reaction on earnings and some strong continuation, especially from basing around that 718 key level, 744 level. Now we're up at 842, So we have a nice, 1-hour squeeze that will provide a great guide on Tesla today. Let's see if it's going to take a dip to Friday's lows around that 811, 810, where that 4-hour squeeze sits. As long as that can hold, we can try to recover Friday, get back up to that high, and the next target would be that 850 psychological level, and that third Keltner, which will kind of be closer to 860. And, I do have plenty of key levels up here for Tesla on another drawing set, but it gets a little crowded, so if we can get going through 830, it's going to be a bid to get to 850. If we can get through that 865, and yeah, if we start to give out some of Friday's lows, squeeze bottom, then we're heading back to 768. Any past that, and we'll get back to the daily 8, which will likely be stepping up near this first Keltner today. Oh yeah, I was going to cover UVXY just to show you. This is usually running counter to equity, so as we've been going up, UVX has been going Y. UVXY has been going down. So I've drawn a trend line from those highs, and should we start to break through that trend line, we might be seeing on equity and indexes that we are breaking down below trend lines. So kind of marked the same thing, the counter, as UVXY is getting down near this 2-day squeeze bottom. So let's see if we get continuation into that. If we turn around and get above 12 or 12.15 today, we're kind of starting a change of trend, which might send this back to daily averages above and other names back down to daily averages below. And VIX, very similar. Trend line from highs. Oh, we are gapping above that this morning. So definitely something to keep an eye on. Don't really understand the need for this gap since we're gapping up. VIX is also gapping up. Is a little strange. So let's see. For further upside, we need VIX to go back down, obviously. You know, if it pops, want to see it reject this daily 8, daily 200 to send it back down through 23.33 and back down to that 22.5 where this daily squeeze and looks like some 4-hour and 2-hour squeezes sit. And a bid to try to get down to this 2-day squeeze bottom and that second Keltner around 21.75. But if we don't get back below this trend line and back below 23.33, VIX is kind of giving us an early warning if we are going to head back down. VIX will hold this daily Keltner and that 23.33 and start pushing back up through these daily 200, daily 8, back to that 24.5 and the top of this 4-hour squeeze. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully this was helpful for everybody. Good luck today, and we will see you all in chat.